Hello. How is everyone? Welcome. This is Alicia Johnson. I'm Alicia Johnson, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am so grateful that you are joining me tonight. It's Saturday night. I guess you can call this like the Saturday edition because we had technical difficulties on Wednesday or Thursday night. I think it was Thursday night. So we are making up a day so that we can maintain our um, track or whatever the trek that we're on. We're now at day 25. So we are here. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Hey, everybody. Hey, Frida, Christina, Christine. Hello. Yeah, I got my hair did. Thank you. No baseball cap for a few days. So it all depends on how well I keep it up, but we shall see. But we are now at day 25 of the Always Journal for Forgiveness 30-day challenge. And today we are discussing forgiving those in authority. The assignment is to reread your dedication so that you will remain pinpoint accurate in your journaling focus. Identify all the areas you have placed yourself under the authority of others, such as your employer, credit card companies, mortgage companies, or ministers. Why? Understanding that people in our lives only have as much authority as we allow them will help you to more wisely choose whom you place yourself under. Benefit. Knowing you can free yourself from certain levels of authority should free you from unnecessary agitation. If certain authority figures are not conducive to your new life, then separate yourself from them as quickly as possible. Day 25, forgiving those in authority. This one is huge. Because when you start to understand the power of forgiveness, and when you start to understand that liberation that comes from being in a posture of forgiveness, when you enter into that space of understanding what forgiveness affords you, then you're going to be inclined to let everything go so that you can start over, so that you can pretty much start from a clean slate. And that is very important. The older that you get, and this is for, the young peoples that may cross the channel, and for the people that, will come and maybe see this years later, or, months later or weeks later or whatever. But learn from us, learn from those who have come before you, learn from the older people in your life, because when you begin to understand the power of wisdom, and you begin to understand the power of good counsel, you will begin to expand exponentially based on the, how can I put it, the wisdom of others. This is why it's so important to surround yourself with wise counsel, with good information, with people that are not only talking the talk, but are actually walking it through. And this is what this community is. 12 hours for God, 12 hours for man. So we are very well versed on what it looks like to live in a man-made progression, and what it looks like to operate in a God-made progression. And when you start to unravel all of the crazy pieces, and when you start to take time to sort through the aspects of your life that are not working, these are areas that you're going to have to address. When God began to deal with me on sorting out and restructuring my life, authority was a huge deal, because I always like authority figures or people I considered to be authority figures really made me anxious, made me nervous, made me shrink. I would shrink in the face of those assumed to have authority. Now, there you should have a healthy relationship with authority, but an unhealthy relationship with authority is absolutely debilitating, and that is what I had. And I had started to really become angry at people in authority. Like I went from one extreme to the other. Like I was doing everything that people in authority would tell me, and then after a while, I was like, "Forget all y'all," and I wasn't doing nothing. So you you need to have balance, okay? Don't be like me. You need to have balance. Proper authority has its place, and this is what tonight's discussion is about. I have become so angry with people in authority that, and you can tell, like, when you become very angry and disgruntled with authority figures because everyone's an idiot. Everybody's an idiot. It doesn't matter who it is. The mayor of the city, idiot. The president of the United States, idiot. The prime minister of this, idiot. Everybody's an idiot. Everybody is just out for evil. Everyone is just out for what's that Latin term, quid pro quo. What's in it for me? Everybody's out for themselves. And so when you get into that mindset, you know that you have some forgiveness work to do. And what God began to deal with me on, it was very interesting that God had to help me to understand that the problem that I had with authority was my problem. It was my problem because Alicia Johnson placed herself underneath all of these authority figures. People can only have authority over you if you allow them to have authority. Now, this is not for like children that are, born into families and things like that. Like, that's a whole nother conversation. Like, if you are born into certain situations and you are born into situations where it's a very like harsh environment, or you're under a person's authority that does not mean you good and things like that, that's another discussion. Okay, that is another discussion that has more to do with your almost like spiritual assignment. If heaven has placed you in that type of an environment, then that's a whole nother discussion. The discussion that we're having tonight is about the positioning where we personally position ourselves. I personally had placed myself under so much authority that it was smothering me. It was absolutely smothering me. God was like, "You have an employer. You have all of these credit cards. You have the mortgage. You have the car note. You are involved with all of these different organizations. You're involved with at a level where I was just a member or whatever." So everywhere I turned, I had authority, 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 something or someone I had to answer to consistently. And it had become so debilitating that I felt as though I could not make a decision without getting all of this approval. I don't know if I can do that. Let me go check with this person. I don't know if I can do that. Let me check with this person. I don't know if I can do that. Let me check with this person. And I had become so conditioned to give away all of the power that I had to all of these perceived authority figures that I had no voice of my own. Even in relationships, the relationships that I had placed myself in relationships with people that had such domineering personalities that even they felt like authoritarians over my life. I would be afraid to even speak up about what I wanted for dinner. Well, what do you want for dinner? Wherever you want to go, that's fine with me. I can find something on the menu. Not that I was trying to be agreeable just because, I can find something on the menu. I just didn't want to deal with the wrath, if you will, of having to deal with their authority. Like, just let them do what they're going to do, cuz I don't want to ruffle any feathers because they're in authority in this scenario. And when God began to reveal this to me, it was so humbling. It was so humbling. Like, I did this to myself. I did this to myself. Little by little, when God started to help me to course correct. And this is the reason for this forgiveness work. This forgiveness work is your opportunity to course correct in the areas where you have allowed too much authority over your lives. And this, unfortunately, is not like an isolated incidents. It is something that we have probably witnessed from our mothers, our grandmothers, those people that we've watched before us, because they too probably fell under a whole lot of authority. And when God had me to trace it back, I was like, you sure right. For like my mom and like my grandmother and my aunts and things of that nature, one of the biggest authority figures during that time was the church. Whatever the pastor said, that was it. Whatever Billy Graham said, that was it. Whatever a religious authority figure said, that was it. Don't you question the church. And that was so, how can I put it? That was drilled in so much that when I started to move out on my own, I immediately, just like instinctively, sought situations that would give me guidance. Like, I always wanted to place myself in situations where people were there that knew more than me so I could hold somebody's hand. It's always good to have people in your life that know more than you, because you never want to be the smartest person in your group. You never want to be the smartest person or the greatest or the highest person in any level, because that's when you stop growing. But you do want to understand your zone of genius and where you excel more so in one area than most people. But you can always find someone who knows a little bit more than you and more than you and more than you, so you can keep growing. But you never want to put yourself in a position where you are not excelling in anything, because that's very dangerous. This is why in this community, I am very adamant about everyone identifying what's in your hands. Because when you identify what's in your hands, you know that this right here, this that is in your hands, is a direct gift from heaven. This is what you came from heaven to earth with. This is something that no one can tamper with unless you give it away. This is something that you do not have to go out into the world and get it certified. This is not something that you have to go out into the world and get pay like a gazillion dollars for an education for it. Everyone everyone who has come to this planet with breath in their body has been given at least one talent. At least one talent. The problem is that most people have not been taught how to identify these talents. So they totally negate the gift that heaven has given them, and they put it on the shelf, and then they start to look into the world, and they start to seek and go through the world and try to cram themselves into the limited opportunities that the world deems successful. And you personally have an entire treasure chest in the palm of your hands. When you place yourself under too much authority, you lose sight of the gifts that heaven has already given you. And this is why, think about it. Think about it. The world on earth as it is in heaven, for everything in the natural, there's a parallel and corresponding occurrence in the supernatural. The world has talent scouts. The world has talent scouts. The world sends out people to look for those people that have come to earth with such a distinguished heavenly and spiritual skill set that if they get to them quick enough, fast enough, flash enough money, enough gold trinkets in front of them, then they can own and take authority over that talent and run amok. Talent scouts. They do it academically, they do it in sports, they do it in the arts, every area of life. The world knows this. The world knows that everyone comes to earth with a talent. The problem is that most people do not know how to identify the talent because we have been educated out of our genius so much so that we just throw it away. But there are some people that come here to earth with such a talent that shines so brightly that the world can identify it immediately. And that's what the world goes for. And that, my friends, is a very good thing. Because, see, when the world is so focused on the shiny, bright talents, when the world is so focused on the prodigies, when the world is so focused on the things that they can immediately turn into money, they leave the rest of us alone. And when they leave the rest of us alone, if we wake up in time, if we come out of our stupor, if we remember and reacclimate ourselves to our greatness, we can curate our own talents. What's in your hands? But the key to operating at this higher level is that you have to learn how to eliminate all of the unnecessary authority figures that are keeping you stuck. Because, see, if you're under too much authority, then that authority is going to rob you of the opportunity to see clearly because you're so focused on the dictates of the authority figure. If you're so busy trying to make the money to pay off the loans, to pay off the bills, to pay off the mortgage, to do all of the things that you have been sucked into. The world is distracting you so much so that you put your talent on the shelf. And by the time the world is done with you, this is why I am so, once again, I am so adamant, especially people that are like my age and older. We don't have time to waste because the world has almost gotten everything that the world can get from us. And when the world releases you and says, You are of no use to us anymore, now go ahead and play with your little talent. Go ahead and work on that little hobby. Go on and do that little thing. Knowing that you have already contributed the best years of your life to the world. Oh, but my God is a redeemer of time. So don't be afraid if you are now just waking up. Don't be afraid if this revelation has just hit you. This is why I constantly teach God is the creator of time. God is not bound by time. And when you're operating in a spirit-led economy, heaven can do more in 2 years than the world can do in 20. But this work can only be done if you are cognizant of the time robbers in your life. And 9 times out of 10, it's tied to the authority that you have allowed to consume you. So tonight is the night that you get real clear on this thing. How much of the authority that you have in your life, how much of it is legitimate, and how much of it is robbing you of your ability to experience life in its fullness? When you start to identify these leeches, when you start to identify these robbers of your time, it is now time for you and heaven to come up strategically with the plan to untether yourself. When you start to untether yourself from those authority figures, you must replace those things with something more powerful. This is why it is important that you understand the truth of who God has created you to be so that you can become, next to God, the greatest authority figure in your life. When I teach on this, I'm always drawn back to the centurion when he came to find Jesus because one of his servants or one of his employees or whatever was in need of healing. And so he took it upon himself, because obviously he was a man of authority. He took it upon himself to go out and get the help that his servant needed, because obviously the servant was very valuable to him. Because why would you go out of your way to seek help for someone that wasn't bringing you value? Like, oh, well, we'll just have to rehire. What when you think he gonna kick it? Like, we just need to go ahead and put that ad out there and find out, see if we can get somebody to replace him. So obviously this guy was not that person. He was like, oh no, no. We gonna get you some help because you one of my best. Like you, You could tell that he was a man of authority, but he was not a debilitating authority. He was obviously an authority figure that had a heart. He was an authority figure that had some humility. He was an authority figure that realized that I can only go so far, so I've got to go find somebody that's even greater than me. So he went and found Jesus, and Jesus was like, "Okay, cool. All right, bet. Let's walk. Let's go back. Let's go back." And the guy knew like where he was in relation to Jesus. Like, no, 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 no. Don't waste your time. I know you got important work to do. All you have to do is give me the instruction. And I too am a man under authority. So basically, I know how to follow rules. I know how to follow instructions. So if you tell me exactly what I need to do, then I will take that thing and fulfill it to the letter and make sure that we carry out everything. That's the kind of authority you want to be under. You want to be under authority that is nurturing, that knows how to get things done, that knows where to go if they do not know, that knows how to find the resources, that knows how to carry out and follow instructions, and that knows his or her proper positioning. This is very important to understand that. Very important to understand that. And as you begin to understand this, you begin to understand and you're able to identify real authority and identify false authority. Once you are able to identify the false authority, then it's going to become easier, if you will, to eliminate it. So as you're going through this work tonight, be excited. Be excited that you now have the opportunity to eliminate all of the areas of your life that are suppressing you, robbing you of the opportunity to advance, and forgiving yourself for allowing these scenarios to enter in, pleading insanity because you just didn't know, and giving yourself the opportunity to rise higher. So, thank you so much this evening for sharing your Saturday night with me. Thank you for um, spending this time. And I pray that tonight has been beneficial to you. And I pray that you do the work. I pray that you do the work so that you can use all of this information to maximize the life that God has given you. All right, everybody. Love you all. Have a wonderful the rest of your weekend. And I will see a lot of y'all on Monday morning, 5 a.m. We continue on with the abundance work. Have a good one.